because I can talk fast, a little bit like a drill sergeant, and keeping to the business bootcamp theme, but trying to get over as much information as we can to you in a shortest time. But as I said, we will follow up with some tips. We're currently creating a business plan pack and template that members can use to map out and do some of the exercises we're suggesting that you do tonight. But tonight is very much an overview of a much bigger course that we do, which is called Business Bootcamp. And that's where we have a day where we focus on the key elements of running any small business, not just a driver training business, any small business. And what having the day does is allows us, as we've already experienced with those days, to really drill down and look at you guys individually. And that can take a few moments for people to get into that, guys, but we work in small groups. And although you're kind of loosely in competition with each other if you come from the same area, people do start to share, and we have a real diversity of ADI businesses there who've all got different bits of business development that they're either struggling with or they want to progress as well. So if you want to put some more flesh on the bones of the Business Bootcamp, there is also the Professional Development Day. But at any time, any of you can give me a call or give any of the team that's actually dedicated to helping you develop the business side of being an ADI, or give us an email. We're very happy to help you do that. There are, in addition to driver training experts like Olivia working here, we have professionals of finance, we have marketing professionals like myself and Amy, who's our marketing manager, we have design professionals, we have tax and accountancy professionals, we have legal professionals. So there's lots of people you can draw on, and that's exactly what that help desk function is all about as well. So to give us a call, give us an email. So get into the agenda here. Olivia's made me nervous of clicking there because the screen might come off. We're going to look quickly at building the business and what that means. We're going to look at marketing and sales. Again, doing helicopter views on this tonight. Go through the presentation afterwards. Have a look at some of the additional things that we've got on there, including the video. And if you need more detail, then have a chat with us. We're also doing articles all the time in the magazine on this too. We're going to look at managing the money. That's the kind of financial aspects of running a business. We're going to look a little bit about the legal aspects of running a small business as well. Technology and how that can help you in developing a driver training business, whether you're in fleet or whether you're in learner, whether you're in older drivers or specialize in other areas. We're going to look at human resources. That is you if you're a sole trader and you need to be nurtured and developed and looked after too for your business to be successful. And that is your franchisees or direct employees if you are more than a sole trader and you also have other instructors, administrators or other employees working with you. Business clinic right at the end. That's an opportunity for you to ask some questions. I'll also answer any questions that you've been posting whilst I've been talking, and those that people have been posting beforehand as well. So we'll talk about those then. So just get that one, yeah. So that's me and technology. Let's look at building the business and what's really important from the start. Well, any business I like to liken to a house or a solid structure of any kind, let's face it. At the absolute foundation of any business is the product or service that you're actually going to be putting out there to build the business on. In your case as an ADI, that is definitely your skills, your knowledge, and your expertise. That is the core. That is the foundation of your building. So without that, we're not saying you have to be a fantastic marketeer. We're not saying you have to be a financier. We're not saying you have to be a legal. We're saying that we recognize that you are brilliant driver trainers. That's what you do best. But at the same time, you do have to run a business as well. So you're multitasking. But don't neglect that core. Sound a little bit like a fitness instructor now. Don't neglect that core when you're going out there. But that is really important. So always build on your skills, your knowledge and expertise. Because if that foundation isn't there, it makes for a very shaky business proposition when you're an actual trainer. So what we need to do to put on that is there's some core pillars that go into any business. And I can't think of a business, and I've worked in quite a few industries now, from banking through to medical research through to charities, that don't actually have all these functions at some point in their business. Marketing and sales is very important. Promoting what you do, getting it out there, getting people buying it. Legal and regulatory issues impact every single business. Even if you own your own business, unfortunately, you are still regulated by somebody, and there are still legal requirements for you. Somebody still has an input or a control of what you do. So it's being aware of what are the challenges there, what are the things you've got to comply with, and not missing any boats because they can be incredibly costly. Finance, managing finance, the money coming in and the money going out. It's great to make good income, but it's also managing what goes out and making sure your costs are lean at the same time, and making sure you're efficient in how you manage that income as well. And we're going to look at HR, training and development. Why is it important to any business, whether it's a one-man business or a multinational with tons of employees? And we're going to also look at technology and systems. Increasingly, technology is playing a massive role in driver training. It doesn't supplant the driver trainer, it supports the driver trainer. And we want to be able to just go over a few things tonight that we feel would be usable in any kind of driver trainer business at all. We've done separate road shows and webinars on this subject, so we have got more information on technology and marketing and sales in particular. We've got full presentations there. So if you want a bit more flesh on those bones, we've also done things on social media, really breaking down the marketing side there, then let us know afterwards and we'll send out some other presentations on those subjects if you missed them first time round. And what have you got to have at the top? Well, successful business is exactly what we want to build up to, but the roof of your business is the management of it. So yes, it's a lot of juggling. There's a lot of balls there in those pillars that you've got to keep in the air as an owner manager of a driver training business. And this is the point at which you should pat yourselves on the back, because it is a tough role to do that and to go out to train every day as well. But unless we pay attention to all these other areas of the business and keep a good lid, a good roof on it through management, business can, also be in trouble too. And that, again, that's big business, that's small business. These are quite normal rules. So what we're talking about, building the base, going back to that foundation again. The base is your skills, your knowledge, and your expectation. The better foundation, the more stability for growth. The less major works to do as you grow that business. So if you know this, if you're building on a solid foundation and it's good and the walls are great and everything else that's going in there is great, it's quality, then you're not going to have to go in there and repair it, and it's a good base to work from. That's really an analogy about talking about building on your qualifications, building on your knowledge, and building on your expertise. So if you want to structure your business for growth, or you just want to maintain it and for it to be a stable business, you need to look at the company's structure, and you need to look at developing your professional and expertise as well at the same time, because it's crucial. I don't want to be so cold about it, because not everybody thinks of their knowledge and their skills as a product, but that is your product, and that's what you're marketing out to the audience that you want to pay you money at the end of the day. And setting and maintaining standards is crucial, and part of your standards is how you perform against those national standards for driver trainers and how you deliver on those, because those who deliver at the top end and over deliver on the standards are the ones who are going to be more successful, because they can differentiate themselves in the marketplace. So never forget the base, never undervalue what you guys are actually doing as a profession whilst you juggle all those business balls as well. One of the first things that I would recommend, and I do quite a lot of work with individual ADIs as well as other businesses in other sectors about how to grow their business but also keep it stable. You can't just focus on growth, you've got to keep it stable at the same time, is where are you now? It's the situational analysis. Sometimes it's really good to sit down in any business, and even if you do this on the proverbial back of a fag packet, I think it's worth 15 minutes sometimes just to jot this down and do it on a regular basis as well. Hopefully some of you will have heard of a SWOT before. If you haven't, it's a business tool. It basically stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And it's a classic. There's been lots of business tools that have emerged in lots of business disciplines over time, but things like SWOTs have just survived the test of time because they're quite simple and they're very effective. So what we've done here is looked at what we would see as the typical strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of an ADI business. You really need to do this for yourself. It's very personal. Stuff that's related to the industry as a whole, clearly that's a bit more holistic, but stuff that's related to your business is for you to fill in and for you to give yourself a good going over and give yourself a good assessment about where you're strong and pat yourself on the back and see where you can use that strength. Where you've got weaknesses, we've all got them, they're allowable. It's when we need to do something about it and we don't, that maybe they're less allowable. Where are the opportunities for you to grow? And where are the threats? We've always got to be mindful of the threats, because even if we don't want to grow too big, even if we're going towards the end of our career, we just want to keep things stable. To keep things stable, we've still got to be aware of the things that can come in and destabilise us at the same time. And I'm not scaremongering, that's just about running a business and keeping it stable. So, and you can pop in the chat box if you want what you think are strengths as well. But some of the strengths that we would look at with an ADI on the ground would be a good local presence. If you've got a good referral network, so you're seeing your business coming through a strong set of referrers who you can rely on to bring you more business. Things like your qualities as an instructor, if you're a grade 6 or you're a grade A instructor, whatever side of the standards check you're on at the moment. Weaknesses could be, for a lot of ADI businesses, no online presence. It's great that you've got that strength, that you've got a good local presence, that you're well known locally and people pick up the phone to you or stop you in the street for a lesson. But if you run out of that kind of network, or you stop being known for some reason locally, or more competition arises in the area, marketing through more channels than just being seen around the neighbourhood and having people recommend you, you need to be marketing in those channels as well. So sometimes people say, I don't need a website, I don't need Facebook, I don't need that. There's a bit of a why wouldn't you to that. There is quite a lot of cheap web builders out there now. It's dead easy to get a site online. You don't need to be a techie, but it's just making sure that you're in as many channels as you can to get your name out there. So when business dries up from one source, you're able to market through other sources to get that business as well. Some people would say that being too dependent on one channel, as I've just highlighted, so being too dependent in this person's case, this imaginary person here, on referrals could be a weakness as well as strength, because we will often have people say, I don't need to worry about that. I've got a full diary for the next 6 months. But some things can come into businesses sometimes and knock you. There could be a reputational damage. There could be a problem with you not being able to run your business for a while through illness, sickness, or something happening to the equipment that you use, like the car. So other people have an opportunity to come in and grab share at that point. And if you're only able to market through certain ways, but you don't have other places to market yourself, that can really hit you at that point. If they take your referrers, or your people who are coming to you can't get to you, and they go away somewhere else, it's quite hard to get them back. Grade 6 instructor, grade A instructor, that's great. That person's obviously keeping themselves at the top of the tree in terms of development, but even some grade 6 instructors not necessarily becoming a grade A instructor in the new standards check. So one weakness may be somebody who's not engaging in any CPD at all and feels that their knowledge needs updating in whatever area. So looking at the weaknesses and looking what you can do about that is really important. It's not just about marketing channels. It's not just about finance or legal things. It could be that it's to do with your knowledge and skills, that core foundation that we really want to see you keep developing. Some of the opportunities that you might see in a SWAT for a typical driver training business is technology. Using technology in car to engage pupils in more of the learning, or using it to manage your business, or using it outside of lessons. For example, you could quite easily do a webinar like we do here. The technology has got so low at cost of entry now for smaller groups. Our groups are bigger, so we need to spend a bit more, but for smaller groups, it's becoming more accessible. So I think a big opportunity for driver trainers is to explore how technology could be used in their business. And we've got some slides on that later on, so I won't go into too much detail. Exploring marketplaces outside of the learner marketplaces. There is a huge number of ADIs working in learner, but there's also a lot of people who work in fleet and or other occupational driver training. When more competition in particular comes into the area, it's worth looking at what can I do that I can transplant to other audiences. What other audiences am I not talking to? 17 to 24 in my area is being really saturated by lots of distance instructors, but no one's looking at older drivers. No one's targeting them in their marketing. No one's trying to get to them. And I can teach those people too and just be as useful. So having a look around and seeing where you can expand your markets to diversify or do new stuff is really important in terms of that opportunities analysis. I think, for example, the new LTES brings some opportunities. There's things that will develop over time, regulatory or otherwise, that you've got to think that might be an opportunity. There's going to be new goals for learners if a new test is brought in, for example, with the use of SatNav, and being able to advertise or market that you're able to help them go through these goals and differentiate yourselves from stuff that maybe parents would do from them is more of a reason for people to learn with an instructor as well. And things like new marketing tools. We've pointed out a weakness for this particular individual might be no online presence. So an opportunity might be having a new website, might be having a digital marketing strategy so they can reach new audiences to either diversify, or they can reach more of that learner audience that they're perhaps not getting just by solely concentrating on referrals and word of mouth locally. Some of the threats that are in the ADI market is the perceived rising cost of learning, not learners, that's a mistake there, that should be about learning. see quite a lot of surveys emerging now that people are saying, well, it's not just the cost of insurance, it's actually the cost of learning to drive overall that's putting off some 17 and 18-year-olds. Some of the other threats are new local entrants to your markets. A more local threat to you might be new competitors coming into your area and frankly doing things that you don't do. So always be watchful of your competitors, keep an eye on them and see what they're up to. And we'll talk about competitor analysis in a moment. Some people will see the standards check as a threat. It's coming up on the horizon. Are you confident you can pass the new assessment? Because without passing that new assessment, that can be a threat to your business as well. If we had more time, there's way more things we could talk about on the SWOT thing, not just for ADIs, but also the business as a whole. For example, some people might see a threat as driverless cars. And we've explored the notion of SWOTs and how they impact the industry and how you can track your own performance against them in 2 issues of driving instructor that you'll find in the membership area. So go and have a look at those as well. And I'd be interested to see what people would add to those SWOTs as well. When we did a business boot camp with some ADIs up in Birmingham recently, it was really interesting to go through this because there was some really kind of like shared experiences here and shared strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. But there was also some really highly individual ones, and people took these SWOTs away to think about what were they going to do about it. And that's the thing about the SWOTs. It's not just writing it all down the back of the flag packet, it's what are you going to do with it next? How are you going to harness opportunities? How are you going to deal with threats? How are you going to bolster those weaknesses? And how are you going to turn them into strengths? But importantly, what are you going to do with those strengths? Are you going to market those strengths better? Are you going to build on those strengths? How do you make those strengths more of a boon to you as well? So moving on that. A SWOT is actually part of a wider business plan, and every business does need to have some form of plan in place. I would advise most businesses to write and maintain a business plan of some kind, mapping out what you are going to do, what you've achieved, where are you, who are you, and where are you going. Then you can evaluate your progress against it. And those times when you think that you're just struggling with toffee, or wrestling with treacle, sometimes actually, if you've got a business plan there and you look at what you've achieved by the business plan, it can be quite motivational. Sometimes it can be demotivational because you think, what have I not achieved? And running a kind of multi-stranded organisation like we have, we often have that issue that we're achieving in some areas, but oh God, we haven't done those things yet. But it's kind of taking a calm approach to plan what you need to do to get that business either on a stable footing to keep it going in a stable way, or you really want to see some growth there. You've got to have a plan to do that. It needs to adjust. It can't just be a plan that you do as an exercise stick on a shelf. It needs that evaluation, and you need to be sensible about adjusting it. If there's new opportunities emerging or there's change in your circumstances or in the business or in the marketplace locally, then change that plan. It's not set in stone. And it's also useful to have a business plan from a practical point of view. If you're ever pitching for business or for investment, I've noticed that some large corporate tenders will ask you for a business plan. So, for example, if you're in the position of bidding for an endorse contract or something similar, you would probably ask for a business plan because they want to look at your financial stability. They want to look at whether you've got a management structure in place. They want to look at things like quality structures. So sometimes you may get asked to have a business plan or present one. So it's useful to do it for your own business, and it's also useful to do it for you to develop business as well. So that's why we say that it's quite good to do. Now, what goes in a business plan, just briefly, because we are developing a template for you guys to use on this, and it has most of the advice in there. Normally an executive summary, what your business is, what it does, where it sits in the market. Just jotting that down helps you in more ways than one. It includes your company and products and services and descriptions. You might know up there in your head what you do, but being able to put it down into what we call an elevator pitch is really important. Elevator pitches, again, if you haven't heard of those before, it's quite an American concept, hence elevator rather than lift. It goes on the premise that if you were to find yourself in a lift and you only had a few floors to go up to, as in seconds, with one of the people that you most wanted to influence in your world at the moment, be it somebody you want business from, be it somebody that you've always wanted to talk to, an elevator pitch is how would you, in a nutshell, sell yourself to that person by the time that you've reached, the 5th floor. So it's basically putting your business in a nutshell, because in everyday life, you're probably going to have to justify what you do and who you are very, very quickly. Someone picks up the phone, why should I go with you, local driving school? This guy down the road is cheaper. If you've got your elevator pitch ready, you know why you are worth your money, and you know why that person should learn with you, If you've got that off pat, you shouldn't struggle with those kind of challenges, those kind of conversations. If somebody asks you to bid for a contract and they want you to put in less than 200 words, what is it about your business that makes us consider you? You've got your elevator pitch because you've done your business plan and you've got it down pat, who you are and what you do. In your executive summary or as a separate part, you can also do a market analysis. It's tied to the above. What does your marketplace look like? So if somebody's deciding whether they want to come into partnership with you, they could consider you for a contract. Some councils ask for business plans, example, for occupational training. They need to know that you understand the marketplace as well. So where are you in that marketplace and what does the marketplace look like? Competitor analysis is really important. It's kind of know your enemy. And it's actually quite easy to do. In the world of the web, people give away a lot of what they do. They share their successes. They sometimes share their clients. They put pictures of people that they're working with or their logos in the occupational sector. They show you what they're doing quite a lot, and it's easy to see. So I would keep an eye on your competitors on a regular basis. One way that a lot of people do this in business in an efficient and cheap manner is to set up Google Alerts. Now, Google Alerts, tap into Google Alerts. You should do this for your business generally. It helps you manage what people are saying about you and where you're being talked about. Google Alerts will then take you to a page. It will ask you what you want to be alerted about. Now, that is about Google is going to go off once you set up your alert, and it will go and find the topics and information about the topics you want an alert on nearly every day or however often you want to set it. Then it will, like Rover, return to you with information about who's talking about you on the web, who's used your company name in any mention on the web, or if you want to set it, you can set it up for your competitors' names. So anytime they're mentioned, anytime they do any updates to their web, anytime they're in the news locally, or they're working on a contract, if it's on the web somewhere, which inevitably is, you will know about it at the same time. I have Google Alerts set up for young drivers. I have them set up for advanced driving. I have it international training, driving instructors. So whenever anybody talks about driving instructors in the media, or they talk about DIA, or they talk about advanced driving, I have an alert that comes in that keeps me up to date about what's going on and who's talking about it. And that's useful for you to be able to keep an eye on who's talking about your business, but also competitors as well. So marketing and sales strategy is too often overlooked in a business plan. People focus on finance and company structure and marketplace. They don't focus on how am I going to get more business? How am I going to do that? So having a look at how am I going to strategize to develop my business is really important in terms of the marketing and sales bit. Organisation and management, who does what in your company, how's it managed, what's the quality of management systems? Again, that's more so for if you are presenting a business plan to either an investor or you're bidding for a driver training contract with a large organisation. They want to know in this bit, have you got the financial performance and management procedures in place for you to be able to handle this kind of contract? And financial analysis, a brief snapshot of your company's financial performance. It's good to have that in there in your business plan, but also these are things that you can take out and use in other things like your accounts or when you're presenting some financial information for other purposes as well, when people are looking at your business. For example, if you're going for a car lease, sometimes they ask you for financial performance information. So that's business plan. I'm not going to show the video right now because we don't have time, but if you click on that video camera link, you will come to a video which is quite cheesy in an American way, but it is actually quite useful. As marketeers, we do talk about the 4 Ps quite a lot, and you may have heard of them before. That's basically at the core. So I could spend today talking about all the different ways that you can market your business practically on the ground. We have presentations for that, we've done it before. But at the heart of it, you kind of need to understand first that before you even go on to which vehicle you're going to use, for example, is it advertising, is it a flyer, am I going to do lots on Facebook? You need to understand who you're marketing to, what you're marketing, how you're going to then reach that audience, and how you're going to communicate what you market better, and how you're going to price. So that's what the 4 Ps are about. What is your product? Who is the audience for that product? Where are the audience for the product? Place is about where you go to promote that. So without understanding where your audience is for that product and how you can grab them, you can't understand where you're going to place any promotion. And promotion is about what kind of activities are you going to do to promote your business. Price, which we'll move on to in a moment because it's the big controversial issue in the sector, is actually about how are you going to price it. So once you've understood who is your audience, you get an understanding of what they're going to pay for it or what their expectations are, what they're going to pay for it. And that will help you determine price as well as other factors such as the costs and the income that you need to achieve to keep your business going. So rather than me waffle on as I am apt to do right now, have a click on that video link later. It'll take you to a YouTube site It's a really good practical little video, but as I just said, ignore the kind of American thing that tells you to say it out loud and maybe do a group hug at the end of it as well. Okay, so let's move on. The 4 Ps, they are about knowledge being marketing power. It's about knowing your audience, who you want and who you can get. There's a difference between who you want and there's a difference who you can get. You might want to say, I'm going to go after all 17-year-olds in this particular postcode area. But it's first of all looking at, does that postcode area or that region yield as many 17-year-olds as you think you need to keep yourself ticking over? And who you can get is really, really important. You might do, if you actually look sometimes at the kind of statistics for age ranges in an area. So who are the people who live in a specific area or borough? And these statistics are all available online. Sometimes interested to see that you might have more of a predominance of elderly people or 50 to 70-year-olds who still want to drive are in that younger age range, or middle-aged people than you have 17-year-olds. So setting yourself a plan that you're going to dominate the world by getting X amount more 17-year-olds this year, when suddenly there's more people going after that market. And the numbers actually say there ain't that many 17-year-olds in this area, but you've got me is a way of saying, well, actually, I either need to look at different postcodes with more 17-year-olds living in them, or maybe I need to diversify and think about the fact that no one's really servicing these other people who need to learn either to learn to drive or to learn to drive again because they're a license holder and they haven't done any refreshers for a very long time. Know what your customer wants. Take some time to understand that you might know what the customers you've had previously wanted, but customer needs and wants can change. At the base of it, yes, they need to learn to drive, but the way in which they will want to engage with you changes over time. The way in which they want to pay you to find you in the first place will change over time. So talking to customers past, present, and if you can get hold of them future and trying to understand them a little bit more stops us from being what we call provider-led, us thinking we know what the customer wants. It's about what the customer wants if you want to sell product to them. And knowing the gaps, that kind of relates to point 1 there, what's not being provided in your area, and seeing whether you can place more stuff out there that no one else is doing, because that's the sweet spot. However, sometimes gaps are there for a reason, and sometimes businesses chase gaps, and actually there's a gap because people don't want the product. And I've seen businesses spend a lot of money chasing after a gap that didn't really exist because the customer didn't want something. Know your key sources of business, know where your business comes from. I'm sure all of you on here, and there's going to be some of what I say, if not a lot tonight, is about grandma sucking eggs, will be tracking the sources of your business and writing them down somewhere. However, it is amazing the amount of large businesses even that you would think would do this that don't track sources of inquiry and sources of business. I think it's really valuable for you to do that on a daily basis. Every time you get a call, to say at some point in that call, do you mind me asking, where did you hear about me? And noting that down, because it quickly over time allows you to see where your business is coming from. Again, we often fall into trouble thinking we know, but actually tracking things can be surprising. We think we get a lot of our business through one marketing channel, but actually then we find that we're getting a lot of it from this other one over here that we haven't even been working on very hard, whereas the one that we thought we were getting the business from isn't providing that much business, but we put a lot of effort into it. So it allows you to be more effective with how you do your marketing. Know where you want to go and how to get there. That's going back to the business plan. And know that you'll have to adapt and change marketing techniques over time. Nothing really stands still. Some stuff is tried and tested. Word of mouth is still a powerful form of marketing, but word of mouth is done in a different way than what it did 20 years ago when I started out in marketing. Price, really controversial thing in the sector. Have many an old debate on this when we go on roadshows, and I'm sure you have them down the test centre too, or you have your moment when you see the guy that's going around with the 500 lessons for 50p type stickers on there without realising they're shooting themselves in the foot, because that's all they'll ever get for their lessons. You don't get paid what you're worth, what you negotiate is a Steve Garragism. I think he first came out with this. And some of the things on this slide I've just noticed slightly out of date, and I'll have to update, but some of this is credit to Steve Garrett here on this. Understanding how to price your business is one of the most important issues for a business. Absolutely, we all get that. It's essential for any product or service being sold that a profit is made, and that applies to not-for-profit. I do get sick of hearing not-for-profits saying we are not-for-profit in a way that suggests they make no money. I would worry about a charity that made no money, because you have to make money to make things sustainable. And I've worked with a lot of national charities, and they have a model that is to make some money to be able to carry on doing what they do. So we all need to make some money in this, whether we are technically not-for-profit or we are for-profit. The difference between getting the price right and getting it wrong can be the difference between being successful and going out of business, quite sadly. And we know that people who price and underprice will price themselves out eventually. And I don't understand sometimes how some of these guys are still in operation, running a car, running anything, or even being able to basically live and breathe on the prices that they're actually charging. The issue for you guys is deciding what price is going to be good value for your customers whilst allowing you to make a profit. So that's the tricksy part there. What is somebody willing to pay and that I can still make some money out of that? What is the customer's comfort level, or where is it I can take them in a comfort level? A customer might come on the phone to you and their comfort level is lower, much lower than you need. But if you can take them to a more comfortable level and you're happy to have that business and you're still making something on it, that's the trick for you guys. Decide on lesson price you can realistically charge is the tricksy bit, as we just said. So there's three main approaches to setting prices, and it varies in degree in which customers are influenced. It's what we call cost-based pricing, customer-based pricing, and competition-based pricing. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. You can read up on this yourself, but I'll give you some overviews of what these mean. Cost-based pricing is not the most customer-friendly. It takes into consideration all of your costs, so it's all about you, this one. Takes into consideration everything that you need to cover, and then you add a fixed profit percentage on top of that. Not really thinking about what the customer is willing to pay in that one. It's just literally what do you need to do to cover your costs and make a profit. It's not based particularly on what the market is actually telling you you can charge. Customer-based pricing starts with what the customer is willing to pay. So it looks at what are the market rates. It doesn't mean that you charge the lowest rates to see to the lowest denominator, but it makes sure that you're aware of what people are paying. You're aware of what you need to do to get them more comfortable with a higher rate, or you're going to be aware that you're going in at that market rate. And if you can make a buck on that, then that is fine for you. Competition-based pricing involves looking at all competing products, in our case, other driving schools, and then setting your price based on that product. So you're looking at competition, you're either going with competition or you're going above competition prices, but you're sure about doing that because you know and you are demonstrating why you're more expensive. That's quite vital. Saying I am worth more than those people is one thing. Showing that you are worth more than other providers in the area is something that I know people struggle with, and we don't necessarily see. People often turn up to road shows and say, I charge this much, I'm worth it. Are they necessarily getting it is another question. But when you go and look at their website, which is where people will shop for them sometimes, there isn't really a lot on there that differentiates them from the website that you go to next. And we've got to think of the web as like a street. If your website isn't getting the product in the window, if it isn't telling people what they want to know about the product, and if it doesn't look attractive enough, or if it's more expensive, if it doesn't look pucker enough to get that extra price, they go and look in the next window, and if the next window looks just as good, looks a cheaper price, and they're giving them the information and the ability to grab that product as quick as they can, they will go to that other provider. Now, that is quite sad, I know, because it means sometimes that somebody who's better at marketing than they are driver training might just win the customer. But that's the reality of a lot of businesses now, that if you put your stall out there properly, you will grab the customer. And customers, particularly in an online environment, are incredibly impatient. They just move on if they can't find what they want to see. And we're starting to see that coming into the offline environment as well, where people phone round, and if you don't give them the answer like that or the price they want, they're off. That is heavily influenced by internet consumption as well. You can choose to pitch at the lower price, around the top, middle or bottom. Pitching yourself at the upper end of the market can seem to be a bit risky, but we have so many of our members that tell us that that's what they're doing, and they are good at showing people or telling them why they are worth so much more. We come back to the elevator pitch. If somebody rings you, and I've role played this a couple of times in local association meetings I go to or road shows, and I'm kind enough normally to pick on somebody I know can deal with a little bit of a challenge. But if somebody rings you up and they're really pushing you on price, if you haven't got it in a nutshell why you are worth more, why it's worth investing in driving lessons that are quality, because otherwise if you don't, you're paying later on in terms of insurance costs and unfortunately maybe someone's life in this process, it's going to be difficult for you to retain a customer who is shopping on price. So when you've got that phone call, you know it. Some of you are probably really successful at doing this and need to teach some other people how to do this. But it's being able to say, this is why I'm more expensive, or this is why I'm better value in the long run. I charge a little bit more, but I am actually better value in the long run because I'll be producing a better driver who won't cost when they have a crash or they knock into something and there's an insurance claim. In reality, a business will take into account all of these pricing strategies when they're looking at things and they're setting prices. Not just any business, big business again, small businesses. It is worth doing a little bit more work, a little bit more research on pricing. There's some pricing formulas out there as well, but it is looking at what do you need to make, what are your outgoing costs, what do you think your customer's going to pay, how much you can push that customer to pay as well. If you've got a full diary, there are some business development people in this sector who will advise you to put your prices up if your diary is full. If your phone is ringing off the hook, the next person that rings you tell them that your price is a little bit more than those customers and pushing your customers up in increments. It's where you feel comfortable. But clearly, if you have demand, and you've got quite reasonable demand, it's flowing quite well, there's lots of phone calls coming in and your diary is full, you may want to put up your lesson price by a couple of pounds an hour, and that can be quite significant when it comes to be looking at your income at the end of the year. It's about taking a leap of faith, and if you talk to driver trainers who've taken that leap of faith, they haven't looked back. They've priced themselves at what they feel they're worth, and actually given the demand for their services, what customers think they're worth as well. When price driving lesson, of course, again, this could be a grandma sucking eggs moment. It's using the cost-based method to include what you need to pay for in that price, what you're actually paying out for. So you've got your car, your lease or your bought costs need to be covered. If you bought it, it needs to be covering off the cost of what you purchased it at over time. You need to look at fuel and the costs over time for you and how that's factored into a lesson price. You need to look at the cost of servicing. That has to be paid for somewhere, so your lessons need to make an allowance for that. Road tax is a cost of your business. Your car insurance, washing your car, depreciation of your assets like cars has to be taken into account for your pricing. If you don't actually create enough income to pay for all these costs, you're going to go out of business. If you have any loans additional to leasing on a car that you've got as well, you need to be able to cover those payments out of any income, and that needs to go into the hourly lesson rate. Telephone charges, accounting fees, advertising, I'd say that should be replaced with marketing. There's more to marketing than just advertising, but any marketing costs that you've got, whether it's taking out an advert, paying a company for lead generation, any of those things that you've got, franchise fees, those have to be taken into account. Any subscriptions to any membership associations that you're using, although those sometimes might help you in terms of development, in terms of getting discounts to some of the other products that you've got to pay for up there, it's a cost. And your ADI licenses, you can't actually operate without it. Well, you could if you wanted to go under the wire, but then there's going to be a massive cost for you ultimately if you don't do the things that were supposed to be done. Some additional pricing factors are, if you have them, pension contributions, any personal accidents, hospital and sickness insurance. You might want to allow additional income for holiday and short-term sickness, so you need to look at, can you cover these things through your hourly rate? Or if you adjusted your hourly rate upwards, would you be able to afford some of these things through your income that you don't actually have at the moment, which are protections for your income in the long run? Add on a fixed profit percentage, because again, you have to make a profit. It is not sensible at all to say we are not for profit. You are private businesses, you are selling a valuable product, you need to make some money out of this. And you might find it easy to work these costs out on a monthly basis and then divide it by the amount of hours you spend teaching. Again, we're happy to spend some time, or one of our accountancy team, on models to help you, or provide you with some spreadsheets even and some templates that will help you work out costs. I mean, that'd be a good step for us actually to do like a model spreadsheet where there's a formula already in there that you guys can actually pick and choose which things that you would have in there as your cost and arrive at an hourly rate as well. And once you've arrived at that figure, don't be surprised if you calculate all your costs and your figure should be over £30 an hour. That's what Steve used to recommend in his articles in the Good Old Driver Instructor. There's one caveat I'd put on that. Competition means hourly pricing rates can go down in many a professional industry, and that will fluctuate over time. There's another caveat on that as well. If you outsource any element of your activity in return for pupils, for example, if you're paying for lead generation, you will obviously have to look at a lower cost. If somebody is doing a bit for you, like the marketing, you're going to pay for that because obviously you're going to maybe get a lower hourly rate back for that service as well. Or if you're in a franchise, they're doing quite a bit of business development or generating leads or providing you with services. So that's why your hourly rate would be under that, because in that hour that you're actually getting a lot of services that you don't have to pay for yourself. So that's why sometimes it might look less than that, but ultimately that's what you're getting in terms of the kind of stuff you're spending. You can do different price-based promotions as well. So if you're going out there, you're not just thinking, I'm just going to go out, that's my flat rate, that's what I'm promoting to the world. There's money-based promotions, very easy to implement, not very exciting. It's fairly common, doesn't really give you that much of a competitive edge, but everybody does it. First lesson for £10 is a money-based promotion. It focuses very much on the immediate price reduction rather than providing any additional benefits and rather than really selling the value of you or your product. So that's why it's a bit more of an easy peasy thing. Product-based promotion is less likely on the whole, and this is going across a lot of different service areas, not just driving instruction. It can cheapen the product image, so it's less likely to cheapen the product image. If you're constantly discounting on price, you're getting your customers to focus on price all the time, and that's what we've seen in this industry, and that's what we've seen as a bit of an endemic problem. But product-based promotion is very much fixing the customer on the value of the product. An example of this is buying a course of driving lessons and including driving test free. So you're basically using bits of the product to net people in. There could be a number of variations, starting with one free lesson for every 10 lessons, or giving away another product that supports your product, like the highway code, 3 theory test, kind of a post-test lesson, all those kind of things. Package it up, but it's still very much focused on the value of the product that is driver training or driver education. Some people also do gift, prize, or merchandising promotions. So you give gifts in return, such as gifts. This is more like the supermarket reward schemes or collecting tokens. This could apply to driving schools. If you were awarded with money from each lesson going towards a useful car 1-1 test, so you reduce the fee. Or you give people some of your business cards and explain that you reward them with a free lesson if they bring you X number of referrals as well. Or if there are companies that you can go to either locally or you think you can access them through national networks like DIA, and sometimes we do have product that we can help give away. For example, Q Parks gives away a £50 voucher to pupils, and we give that to driving instructors to give away to their pupils, so that if they learn with them, when they pass their test, the pupil can have £50 to free parking in Q Parks. So there's sometimes things that you can get from us even that will differentiate you from the crowd in terms of price promotion. So we'll just go through that as well. But I think it's worth looking back to that as well. Some of the marketing assets, other than your price, other than your car, and all those kind of things, there's lots of things that combine to give you a lot of marketing assets. It's you, your knowledge, and your experience, your diversity. What's your specialism? What's your flexibility? What do you do that nobody else does in your area that makes you stand out? Your car is obviously a massive marketing tool. It's going round and round the local roads every day, like a massive mobile advert, and doing more with that mobile advert by making it clearer, making people being able to access your contact points off the back of your car more easily, making your car more appealing in terms of brand is a fantastic thing to do and actually quite cost effective. Your pupils and your key referrers are your massive kind of market asset. Where we said track the source of inquiry before, it's surprising how many people have got people who refer pupils to them all the time, who maybe deserve a little reward sometimes to keep them as a referrer. Or we need to get people who we know have had a good experience with us to be a referrer. Your track record is really important, not just how many people have passed with you in your pass rate. Ultimate success as a driver trainer is if you can track this information, and I would encourage more people to do this, is what are your pupils do 6 months and a year down to the line. If you get them past the test, you've done a part of the job. If you have people who are still driving unharmed 6 months to a year past that test, then that's a mark of success. So monitoring pupils after tests, going back to them, being able to calculate over time how people are doing and turn that into some kind of marketing collateral, or getting them to write case studies about how they felt more prepared for the road after the review. That's part of your track record as much as that pass rate and your grade. And your experience as a customer is also important. Always keep a check on how would you perceive your business, how would you perceive your pricing. Get other people, friends, family, pupils, to have a look at what you do and how you market yourself, how you price yourself, how you promote yourself, and give you their tips and pointers on how you could do that better as well. We're always happy to look at people's marketing assets and give you some tips and advice as well. Managing the money. I'm going to go through this very briefly. This is not my hot topic area of expertise. I would defer to our kind of in-house chartered accountant, who's always happy to give advice. Plus, we have a tax service here who gives quite a lot of advice on a monthly basis in the magazine. Looking at how your business is structured, whether you're just starting up, sole tradership is the norm for most AGI businesses. Partnerships increasing as people go into work with each other, but you've got to make sure you have the right legal agreements between there. Limited company, most people in this business don't bother with this route until they grow. Most AGI businesses are going to be sole trader. It's not really worth establishing a limited company until you're achieving more than £50,000 of profits per annum. And also, once you become limited, you start paying corporation tax. So avoiding that as long as you can. You're not Starbucks. Nobody's going to come and have a go at you for not paying corporation tax. Is the best thing to do. But gov.uk has got loads of information that is absolutely correct and factual, unlike some Facebook forums or even accounting practice trying to win your business, that will tell you about how to structure and set up a business, whether that's an ADI business or a small business. Getting started, again, sucking eggs here, but some people on this webinar are just getting started or are doing their training now and have never run a business in their lives before. Set up a separate and segregated business bank account. That is the best way of managing your money. If it's going into the same account as all your other domestic outgoings and ingoings, it's going to be quite hellish to know where you're making money and where you're not making money. You also get quite a lot of advantages with a proper business account. I know Barclays, for example, give away free accountancy tools, free tools for managing HR, free web tools, lots of free things. So shop around and get a good small business provider who gives you lots of freebies as well that will help you run the business. Barclays, for example, I'm not a Barclays client, so I'm not pushing them. But if you notice, they're doing lots of things like they're giving away free kind of advice on how to set up things on the web through their branches. So it's worth finding those people as your local business support contact. Sensible way of recording income and expenses, because you're going to have to do your returns if you haven't got an accountant to do them. And even if you have got an accountant, he's going to expect you to be able to give that information. And appoint an accountant. If you're not that au fait with accounting procedures, it is worth doing this even if you are, because a qualified accountant working for small businesses in that arena is aware of taxation changes every single day, is aware of the latest regulation, and is a way of mitigating your tax exposure, which is completely rational to do. So they will be more aware of what's changed and not letting you run foul of it than you perhaps are if you're doing it yourself, unless you're working in the accounting arena every day. And as soon as you set up your business and you're trading, you clearly need to inform the revenue. There's a link there to tell you how to do that as a new business. Those are the forms that you would need to do that. And one really important thing on setting up a new business from a HMRC point of view is you need to have received a UTR number. Sounds like an infection. It's a unique tax reference for you, and it will be asked for, as a lot of you will know and sigh over now, on every encounter with the HMRC. Penalties for not submitting a tax return. A bit of scaremongering here, but just thought I'd flash that up. Tax returns are very important. Those of you who've suffered through this several times a year, if you're operating more than one organisation, or just twice a year, I think some people have to do it now. 1 day late, penalty of £100. 3 months late, £10 for each day following the day that you're late, up to a 90-day max of £900. No one wants to lose that amount of money. 6 months late, 5% of the tax view, or whichever is higher. And 12 months late, you could even be paying a lot more than that. So somebody who missed a January tax return and didn't pay till the end of the year is liable to be paying out nearly £1,500 in tax. And we have had cases of people admitting that that's what they happened before they used a tax service the next year. Simplified accounts, a little template there. Again, go Google. That's my biggest piece of advice to small businesses. You can pay somebody to help you with all of this stuff. And I would suggest an accountant for your normal day-to-day. But if you want to do totting up as you go, there are some tools on the web that you could use. But there is a simple kind of account spreadsheet that you can use here. And as I said to Olivia just now, we often realise more CPD stuff we can do for you guys when we're doing these things. We'll try and put together a little spreadsheet to help you do this if you're not already operating your own. But if you've got some magic formula, please share that. We do like to hear what ADIs are doing at the chalk face and how that helps them. Accounts and expenses, what you should record an account for. Again, this is a helicopter brief overview. Should be accounted for your car expenses, your parking charges, a lot of the things that were in the pricing formula. If you're recording what you're spending in your accounts, it makes your pricing formula a lot easier because you know what you have to account for in your pricing. Associated travel costs, fines, hire and rental, food and drink, accommodation costs if you're doing any training where your person you're training for doesn't necessarily pay your accommodation costs, training and tuition, anything you have to pay on to get to yourself up to speed, any educational resources or textbooks that you use with pupils or for yourself, subscriptions, telephone and internet, the list goes on. And so calculating your outgoings helps you do your accounts, also helps you set your pricing and know what you have to do to break even and to make a profit as well. Being a legal eagle, you don't have to be a lawyer. We're not expecting anybody to do that to run a business, but you do have to be aware of obviously regulatory and legal requirements. You'll be aware of the ADI regulations, but there's some other business specific ones that people should be savvy to as well. So making sure, are you aware of all driver training specific regulatory requirements and are you compliant? There's your badge, but there's other things that you need to do to remain compliant as well. We've got quite a lot of calls coming in at the moment about the CRB check. And our general advice to people is don't wait until the nth degree to do it, because there is a massive time lag with the DVSA CRB checking service, and we're finding that they're not being returned as quickly as possible. You have to do those things to get your badge, and we don't want to see people fall foul of that because it takes so long for them to return as well. But are there other things that you need to be doing to be being compliant, even with DVSA regulation? Not sure? Give someone like Olivia a call. If we don't know the answer, we'll ring DVSA and find out on that one and come back to you as well. Know which tax, advertising, employment and other business-related regulation and legislation affect your business. Any small business is subject to regulation from, for example, people like the Advertising Standards Authority. If you go and run an advert in your local paper that claims false pass rate or claims false stories of false success, or shows pictures of people who are not your pupils, or has the wrong pricing on it when people ring up, they can't get that pricing, you will be at some point followed up by the Advertising Standards Authority. Increasingly so, because consumers are getting very complainy and they're getting very savvy about what they can do to complain. If you don't take any notice, they're very savvy about which regulators to go to now to be a big stick on you. So again, I'm not scaremongering. I'm just saying a lot of these regulators have got lots of good advice on their websites about how to remain compliant and how not to fall foul of the law. And that is also targeted to small businesses. So even just Googling what regulations should I be aware of for small businesses, and that's the beauty of Google. You can just put anything in there that's in your mind and it will go and find it, I think is a really good thing for people to do. Have you got adequate insurances and protection in place? Have you got the right kind of indemnity insurance? Have you got the right kind of cover for public liability? Trading car insurance, is that adequate for what you're trying to do? For example, we've had a lot of queries recently, and we're going to run an article on it. If you're setting up an under 17s driving school, what insurance requirements are there? Some private landholders who may let you come on their land and run an under 17s course are now asking for public liability limits in excess of 10 million. We offer 15 million combined insurance, but some of them are saying that we want more than 10, which is what other associations offer. So it's kind of really important to know whether you've got the right insurance for the right activity at the right time as well. And some of those insurances around under 17 are saying, no, it's okay, you can teach somebody who can just get their feet on the pedals even with a cushion. But other more sensible insurers are saying, no, they have to be of this height and they have to be of this age before you can actually insure them. And you can't just do it on your normal trading car insurance. So really check out what you need in terms of protection for everything that you're doing. And an important thing as well is you are responsible for protecting your customers, not just in that car. If there's one kind of bootcamp message you can get out there to people is also you are an information holder and you are perceived to be a holder of information and personal data by the government as well and by the legal establishment. So if you are perceived to have leaked any information that is personal to a customer or not kept it very well or very securely to the point that it could be stolen, or it could be leaked to a third party, there are quite severe penalties sometimes that small businesses will suffer for not protecting information. The best thing to do is to register with the Information Commissioner. You can find that link, and this should be on here somewhere, but it's ico.gov.uk. It's got a lot of information about why any business should register with the Commissioner, because it's all about, have you taken the reasonable steps to store personal information like names, phone numbers and email addresses and bank details if you're taking payments by that method? Are you securing it securely, as in it's not in a concertina file, in an unlocked cupboard, in a house with an unlocked door? Is it in your phone but your phone hasn't got a lock on it? So that web address was ico.org.uk. There have been cases of small businesses being prosecuted for not keeping data, not prosecuted, but the claims have been made under the Data Protection Act by customers when they found that their details had been stolen from small business offices, and it was found the business did not securely store that information. So they just had it open to anybody to come in and pick up from a filing cabinet that wasn't locked, or computers weren't locked in the office, or phones are left lying around with people's information. You might not think you're carrying highly personal information, but anything that identifies where somebody lives, what their bank account is, where their personal finances are, where they work, can be perceived to be that. So it's just a little tip that we would give that could actually have a big payoff if you get it right. To register with the ICO, cost of business £35. It's kind of worth it because it shows that you are on the register, that you are compliant, and that you are willing to take those steps to make sure that you know what you're doing as well. So in some cases where people have been prosecuted for breaching data protection, ICO registration has actually helped them. Ensure the tools of your business are compliant with regulation and legislation. Olivia could probably give you more advice on that one, and we've probably got sheets on that. It's your teaching car, compliant. I think maybe some of that stuff is covered off in the diploma in terms of vehicle knowledge and things like that.
Yeah, awarding vehicle knowledge, awarding business knowledge, there's quite a lot of information on those two courses, so you can look at that on our website, which will flash up at the end. Again, we're creating a new download section on our website, and I'm sort of busy populating this new section with download sheets and things for you, even down to things like basic car check sheets, which have been due to popular demand that I've created. So that is coming very soon.
And that helps you ensure that your parents are compliant as well, or your pupils. So you have a responsibility, whether it's kind of apparent or not to the public or to you. But I'm sure a lot of you feel you have a responsibility to be briefing the parents about how they do safe company practice. So in response to our Parent Power Roadshow and this subject coming up, we're actually producing these parent check guides so that they know what insurance they have to have in place, what's the car got to do and be, and how it's got to be protected, and what they should be doing as well to remain compliant with the company practice. So your responsibilities, you can extend them to what the parents and pupils are doing as well. So if you're aware of all these things, you're a better advisor to those people as well. When it comes to legal stuff, it's a minefield because legislation changes all the time, and so does regulation. So you can't be trying to keep yourself up to date all the time. But whenever you're unsure, or as a normal chat, we try and get updates to you through the magazine, through the e-shops. We're not just flogging stuff through to your newsletters. We're giving you opportunities. We're showing you what we do, but we're also often sending you vital advice about regulatory updates. But if you're unsure, just call us. And if you don't know where to go for qualified legal advice, should you need it, call us again. We have arrangements with certain legal practices where you get a first half an hour's business advice free, or advice on things like road traffic issues that you might have come across, i.e. you've got a speeding ticket or something's happened and you don't feel that was actually justified. We have people who are specialists in those areas who will give you advice on that as well. But our route is to send you to those professionals. Some associations I noticed have been making fairly misleading claims about giving legal advice. You have to be careful. We don't give out direct legal advice because we're not a regulated legal advisor like a solicitor's practices. We are not absolutely up to date on every legal aspect like a solicitor's, and we don't have the indemnities in place to give advice, because if you get advice that's wrong, you've got every right to come back to somebody who's not regulated and have a word with them about that. But our best advice is to always either check advice we're giving you with a qualified legal advisor, or for you to go and have that first half an hour free with somebody who does it, and that can save you a lot of money and time in the long run as well. So your livelihood, your professionalism is at stake if you don't protect it, not just in terms of building up on that professionalism, keeping your badge, making sure that everything you do to comply with regulations there, but equally if your business isn't compliant with HMRC, with all the other kind of business needs that are imposed upon you, that can cost you as much as losing your ADI badge can, quite frankly. Basic things you have to do to be legally and regularly compliant: all regulated licenses up to date, your CRB checks up to date, awareness and compliance with industry code, what other industry regulation is out there. It can vary, so if you're in the occupational driver training workforce, there's going to be other things that you should be doing to be compliant. There should be maybe other things that you should think of having in there, like ISO, if you're thinking of doing that in quality management systems. So looking around and seeing what are other businesses doing in my space, what else do I need to do? Ask the questions. It could be nothing. It could be something free or something really simple to implement that will help protect you. Have you got the right terms and conditions in place? Do they protect you? Do they protect the customer? Have they been really looked at and scrutinised so there's not loopholes that can come back and bite you in the bum in the future? We constantly recheck our terms and conditions that we give out to members, but it's worth always having a look at your own. Franchise agreements are something that we get, again, so many calls on when people have got themselves into difficult franchise agreements. And I'm sorry to say this, it sounds really patronising, but it happens to all of us at one time or the other. A lot of times it's to do with not reading the agreement properly and signing it. And sometimes that can be because you've been put under pressure to sign an agreement. But it's always worth saying, no, I want to take this away. I want somebody else to look at that as well. And we don't mind having a look at these things. You can also get people like Citizens Advice Bureau to look at agreements. There's certain things that people who are experienced at looking at agreements in the legal sense can spot a mile away and swerve you away from. And you can amend things. Never be afraid if you're in the guise of making an agreement with somebody and they're sat there with lots of paperwork that they've provided. It's probably to suit their ends 9 times out of 10. Take that paperwork away, study it carefully, cross things out you don't like, and make your own amendments to that. If they want to do business with you or if they want your money, they should be open to doing that. And if they don't and you're really uncomfortable with that agreement, then walk away 9 times out of 10. That's the best advice we can give. Employment contracts are important as well, whether you're being employed by a large driving school directly or you are thinking of employing people. Again, protect you, protect the employee, make sure there's a contract in place and it's clear and both parties have understood that as well. Again, those are things that we can help people with, and as we go along we'll download some sample templates of things like employment contracts if you're thinking of growing your business and taking on more people. Pupil contracts, some of you have them as well. Terms and conditions will suffice to a degree, but actually putting together a pupil contract can be quite useful because you can put more things in there than just payment terms and lesson refunds and things like that. In America in particular and in schools in the UK, we're starting to see the emergence of more teacher and parent contracts where pupil, teacher and parent will make a contract as to what they will dedicate in terms of learning, what they'll do outside of lessons. So these things can be used as a nice device to cement you all into a learning relationship and make sure everybody's aware of their responsibilities as well. Appropriate insurances we've covered really in terms of making sure that you've got the right insurances in place. We did do an article in Driving Instructor, I think last year, on what insurances typically an ADI business needs. So have a look through the membership archives of the magazine for that one. We're shortly, hopefully, going to be making the magazine arts archives searchable by keyword. So you don't have to trawl back and look for a specific issue. You should be able to put in a keyword like insurances and find articles that relate to that. But that takes some time given the number of issues that we have to put in the archive. And have clear customer policies and guidelines. If you are clear from the outset and you ensure that you have communicated them to the best of your ability, as in they're on your website, you emailed them to the person, you gave them to them in their hand, and you made sure that they understood them, it does help you when there's a problem. If you feel that you can stand your ground and put your hand up and say, I clearly communicated these policies when there's an issue, and here is the instance in which I sent you all this information, we do find that that can fend off some of the less kind of honest customers who want to take you for a bit of a ride or just decide they want some money back off you. So make sure those are clearly communicated. Tapping into technology, we're just running about a bit of time now, so I'll swing through this, but read through this at your leisure. And we have got a full presentation on this from another roadshow that we did. Why we say tap into technology, it can really help you manage your business. Online tools, really easy, low cost. You don't need to be a geek to do that. So we kind of say to people, even in our own office, stop the excuses. It's dead easy to use stuff online now. Let's start using this stuff. Technology can help you recruit and retain customers. It can help you manage them. It can give you tools to help you teach. It can give you tools to help your pupils outside of lessons. It's a brilliant tool for customer service. It gives you information at your fingertips, but it also allows customers to interact with you when you're out in the car. There's systems that help us have a much more systematic approach to our business. Plenty of free stuff to help you online. Information you can access anywhere. If you set up yourself to have a Google Drive with all your documents or a secure place in the cloud, it means when you're out at work, you can always lay your hands on customer records and phone numbers as well. Even your mobile phone is a step forward in technology in terms of you will always have your contacts with you when you're out on the road. And increasing your IT literacy is important. We all fall behind the curve on technology because technology advances every single day. And even people I know who work for Google, Facebook, and the ilk will say they're not an absolute expert in what's going on all the time because it goes quick. So don't be afraid to ask for help with your IT literacy. We all could do with some getting up on our skills there. And we're thinking about maybe doing some days where people can get in a room, sit around an iPad or sit around a PC and have a mess around with different online tools, different IT things like spreadsheets, like Word, like PowerPoint, and learn how to use them. There's a lot of people at the very top of their profession that can't even put together a Word document. CEOs, CFOs, politicians, they rely on other people to do it, and it's really better if you can do it yourself. And it helps you have a professional image. In-car teaching aids, if you're talking about technology, how you can use it in the car, some examples of that are cameras. Not just to record bad motorists outside your car who are doing bad things, but those of you who use cameras to show people what happened in the lesson and show them and help them self-reflect on what they could do better next time. That's a fantastic piece of technology that is really aiding driver training. Show me, tell me tools. There's quite a lot of apps, isn't there, that we can recommend to people now. Mind map apps, training videos, encouraging pupils to go and look at training videos you've either done yourself or that you think are good that are already out there on things like YouTube. I would say in the world of YouTube, anybody can make a training video. If you're a good trainer and you do it in the car, there's nothing to stop you filming something on your handheld phone or on your in-car camera and sharing it with the world. And it's great for you to put things like that video on your website. Google loves video. It's why YouTube is actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, social media channel in the world. People don't give it credit for that. They think it's Facebook and Twitter. But if you see social media as a place where people go in, interact, and have a community, YouTube is far bigger. And more people are interacting it on average more times a day as well. So put videos that you've done on YouTube, have your own YouTube channel, but also put those things onto your website because Google will like your website more and put it further up the rankings because it's doing things that people like to see. And we say take the pill, invest in a good tablet, because when you are doing stuff in between lessons, when you want to catch up on records or respond to emails, it's actually a lot easier on things like a tablet or a small laptop. Prices are coming down. I know there's still an expense. We're looking at ways we can get discounts off this kind of equipment for our members, but it is worth having that thing in your car. Telematics, again, we've got a presentation coming up on that soon with our partner Ingenia where we go into more depth. I'm asking the telematics industry to start giving us apps and tools that driver trainers can use in their car as well. So you guys can actually see in car how telematics can be used in lesson, but also importantly, it can get you guys using it with pupils so pupils are more willing to adapt to that technology when they graduate through to a license. Problem is at the moment telematics, they haven't learnt with telematics in the car, they've not had them in the car, but then we're trying to push them to have them because they help develop driving and they help keep costs low after they've had a test, but they think it's a bit too big brother. We can get them in the car with you guys and you can demonstrate what the benefit is of them. I think we'll see a few more people wanting to use telematics, but we need to give you some apps and tools you can play around with first. Out of lessons but still in mind, technology can help you be in their lives when you're not in their lives. So what we'd say is explore how technology can allow you to interact with pupils outside of those 1 to 2 hours a week that you might see them. You could do online questionnaires and tests which help you get to know your pupils. So before you take your pupil out for the first time, you could do a little questionnaire online which helps you do some profiling on them, gets you information on that pupil for you, even in the car, helps you adapt that first lesson, helps you cut out time in that first lesson that you normally spend on asking questions. Webinars like this, GoToMeeting is a tool that we use. If you're only using it for a few users, I think it's actually free, isn't it? Up to a certain point.
Not this one, but there are other ones out there. Meeting and other ones that are free.
Because we have so many users on ours, we have to pay. But if you're a small group user, search around. You could do your own webinars with full camera on them, full sound. You could show PowerPoints, you can record them, and actually it's something nice to do to establish a community of learners as well and be in their life outside the lessons. But you can also use group chat like Skype. That's free for groups now. It didn't used to be free for groups, but you can Skype your pupils and they find it quite funky. It's what they're doing all the time. And introducing pupils to helpful tools online is really good as well. So, sometimes we encounter ADIs who think the theory test is completely separate to what they come in and do, but actually it's integral to what you do. So actually starting off by offering them help with the theory test, being able to give them free tools. There are quite a lot of free tools out there if you search around now, and you can bang them on your website as well or email them to your pupil is a good thing to do. And any links that you can give people to good online tools, it puts you in a good light. It makes you look interactive, it makes you look switched on, and it makes them see you as a good driver trainer. You've got things like Drive IQ as well, where you have the free brain training. That's free to access. Check out Drive IQ on the web. Just put in Drive IQ and you'll find it. It's got 6 modules that focus on things like eye scanning, distraction, all those kind of things. It is totally free and you can forward all that information onto your pupils or use it in lessons at the side of the road if you want to pull in and do some interactive stuff there as well. Social media forums are important as well. They're platforms for discussion and sharing, and setting up forums on your own website or engaging with pupils, giving them things to discuss is a way of doing some group learning as well. And there's some other online platforms that we can put people to if they want to go really mad and start having an online e-learning platform to support learners outside there as well. And linking people to online sites like National Standards for Drivers and gov.uk, getting them the source of information they need to see, is using technology for good in your training as well. Those are just some screenshots of some of the things that we just suggested there. Out of office and still in business, this is what we say about using technology. If you go out there and you market your business and you attract customers to you, but you cannot respond to their inquiries whilst you're out in the car teaching, or you don't get back to them till really late in the day, it's like marketing with a massive net with a big old hole in the bottom of it. They're coming into your net like willing little fish that you've attracted to you, but then they're swimming out the other side if you're not able to deal with their inquiries. So what we say is, I know that sounds patronising, so get a mobile phone, but I have been astounded at how many people cannot actually be accessed in any other way than ringing a landline. People want to be able to at least leave a message or feel that they're getting to somewhere. And it's no problem to them to ring and get an answer phone message, as long as there's an answer phone message that is clearly the driving school and not just a generic Vodafone or EE one, so they don't know they've reached you, or no message at all. Hello, it's Dave. Leave a message. People need to feel they've met your company. They've actually got to you. It's not about your need. You might not want to be bothered all the time by mobile phone calls, but if you want customers, they will want to contact you. You will want their call. So inquiry management is what we call it. It's essential to your business. I would have an autoresponder on your emails if you generate inquiries like that, so people at least know their email has reached your inbox and that you are going to deal with it in a certain time frame. That does give a comfort to people as well. So have an autoresponder. It's dead easy to set up. Business like a friendly message on your answer phone. We do some kind of mystery shopping sometimes. Amazing, the kind of things that we get in terms of no answer phone message, or all right, it's Dave, leave me a message with some like heavy dance music in the background. Reasonable response time to emails and calls important. You could consider using an outsourced answering and booking service. If you've got a wife, husband, son or daughter who could be compelled into doing this, great. Make sure they know how to answer a phone call in a good customer service manner. But if you've got people doing that for you, fantastic. If you haven't, there's things like Faces of Business. They will give you your own virtual assistant. They will answer the call in your company name on your dedicated number, and they will make bookings into your diary that they agree with you first. And they ostensibly, to the outside world, look like they work for you, but they're working for you whilst you're in the car. You can now do online booking and payment facilities. So if you want to, you can get people to book a lesson and pay for it online. Fantastic. You're out in the car teaching, you come back, you've got lessons booked in, and they're paid for. That's a great result at the end of the day. Online booking, by the way, does not mean that people are taking spaces in your diary that you don't want to teach in. If you have an online booking facility, you block out when you don't want to teach, and equally, the system sends you a message when somebody tries to make a booking. It only gets accepted when you send a message back by text or by email or by going into the system and says that you've accepted that booking. It's just like a hotel booking engine. It makes people think you're really interactive, but it doesn't control your life. So that's some of the myths that I've had from people about online bookings. It'll just take over my diary. No, you control your diary still. That helps you control your diary. And there's other things that you can be doing, like popping a virtual customer service tool on your web. If you really want to get techie, you can have a little thing like we've got on the DIA website, that when you come into it, sometimes a little thing pops up and says, hey, is there anything we can help you today? What that does is come through as an email. It pops up with a sound either in your inbox or back at home if you've got an administrator in your office, and they can interact with that customer whilst they're on the web and guide them to the right information, or take a booking from them at that point as well. Look at cloud-based application storage, as in, can you take your information with you when you're on the move, and when you're sat by the side of the road, pulled up with the engine switched off, can you be doing some work? Can you access files? Can you access information as you sit in Costa Coffee between lessons as well? And, help Google help you as well. There's loads of tools that you can get for free on web that will help you do that. That's just managing your customer data. I'm skipping through this because we are running out of time, but from simple Excel spreadsheet to some new online tools that help you manage customers, you don't need to keep it. Fine if you want to keep it in the concertina file or on scraps of paper scattered around the house, but if you wanted to set up a new customer service database where you can find all your information quickly, you can be doing it in an Excel spreadsheet, or you could do it in a free database that's downloadable off the web. I've got plenty of suggestions. Give me a call. Managing the money, again, have a look through that. There are loads of ways now that you can take electronic payments, and it's costing you less and less. When these things first started coming out, like chip and pin and lots of other things, it was costing you to take the money. So it was better to march somebody to a cash point or make sure they paid you in the car. But now customers can do this by phone. They'll be able to do it just by looking you in the eye at some point, I'm sure. But they reckon that we will be absolutely cashless in a very, very short period of time, and that checks are going to be obsolete by the next 2 or 3 years. So we need to realise this is how customers want to pay. It gets the money in earlier if they can book and pay online, but at least when you've got them in the car, they can't run away if they haven't got cash. So explore where you can get cashless options. Again, going back to the business banking analogy, if you go and bank with a certain banks, they will actually help you get these things for very free or low cost as a business banking customer. So have a look at those as well. And the future is, if you can't take payments in a way that the customer wants to pay you, they may just walk away. I am one of the world's most impatient consumers. If I can't do what I need to do, book what I need to book, online there and then, or when I phone somebody up, or if I can't pay then and there by the method I want to pay, I can move quite quickly to somebody who can do that for me. And I think that's a lot of customers, unfortunately, in this day and age. They're not necessarily taking the time to feel the quality, but part of that quality is how they can interact with you as well. We've got a new pupil finance service shortly coming from DIA. We've partnered up with somebody who will lend for 12 months 0% finance on lessons. So if you wanted pupils to buy block bookings off you and you don't take any of the risk of financing those, but you receive the lesson payment every time they have a lesson in a monthly amount, we have a new service for that, which if you look at in the magazine on Ease Business, we're talking about them quite soon. It's the first product of its kind. I know people talked about doing it before, but it's not very easy to set up a financing facility. But we found someone to do that for us who works with student loans marketplace. And it just gives you the ability to attract people if they're struggling to pay their driving lessons in the shorter period of time. They can do it at 0% over 12 months. So there's lots of different ways people are going to be able to pay for lessons in the future to stop cost and how to pay for it being a massive barrier. Again, with anything to do with online, just make sure you're being legal and compliant. Any tools you're using, any payment methods are secure, that you're not doing anything that doesn't protect you or your customer as well. People power is just about the HR. I won't go into too much detail here, but if you are a sole trader or if you are a multi-employee business, look after yourself. Make sure that you're continually upskilling yourself. You are your resource. People resources are the most important resources in a business. Make sure that you're motivated. Even going to CPD, if you're on your own, is a way of motivating you about your business. But make sure you do that for any employees that you've got as well. You've got to invest in them with training as much as you've got to invest in them in terms of keeping them happy through things like salaries, bonuses, all those kind of things as well. And it helps protect you and the organisation within it if your product, as in the training, is kept up to standard as well. Having clear policies and guidelines for your employees are important. Contracts are important. Again, any of those things, if you are growing and you're taking on people, have a chat with us. There's templates that we can share with you that we use as an organisation or that we've used in other larger businesses. They're very standard, they're very straightforward, and they've all been quality checked as well. And we're very happy to share those with people. And customer services, just paying attention to customer services. A lot of what we said is about customer services. It's about understanding what the customer needs, understanding what your product is and what its value is, and understanding how you deliver that to your customer as well. They don't necessarily want it to be delivered in the way that you want to deliver it. You've got to understand how they want it delivered and how they want to consume it, how they want to pay for it. And that's where you're going to have to do a little bit of research and understand the customer as well if you don't already know that. So if you want to be the ADI business of the century, it's unfortunately, it is actually keeping all those balls in the air. And the people who do this business well are the ones that are paying attention to not just the foundation, but they're paying attention to the pillars as well. And they're topping it all off with good management. There's lots of things that are going to come and try and push your business at times and pressure it. But if you are really staying on top of some of these areas and you're paying attention to them at the very least, you should be developing a business that's fit for success. And that's what we want to see a lot of our members doing and doing better at. So we've run out of time because I do blether on quite a lot, but there is a lot to cover in this, and we've only kind of scratched the surface of some of those topics. That's why we do the one dayer, and also because we want to go deep down and personal with the delegates on that day and get to know you a bit more and your own individual concerns. So are there any questions, or have you all run screaming into that glorious sunshine out there?
Yeah, so there's a couple that we've got so far.
Okay, so we've got how to expand for independent to franchise. I'm going to take that as how to go from a franchise to an independent. We had the last business bootcamp that we did a gentleman who had just gone from a franchise to independent. And that's at the point that we find most people need some business advice, because they do lose some business support functions from going from a franchise. So some franchises do lead generation and pupil generation, and that's where people struggle when they go independent. Though some franchises promise you that and then don't deliver it, and you end up doing the marketing anyway. I'd say on that one, just in a nutshell, if you are going from independent to franchise or vice versa, and you want any advice about how you do that, we've got lots of resources and advice here. Just give us a call. I'll happily chat that. Olivia's done it. We'll happily chat that with you on a one-on-one basis. And I think there's very individual ways to do that. But have a look at the Business Bootcamp. Look at what we've been saying today. Consider all the things like the 4Ps, like the SWOT. Look at the environment. Look at some of the things we tell you today. Those are the considerations you need to have when you're going independent, or you're in a franchise and you're just not getting that business support. Start developing that business alongside that franchise, or asking them for more support, and build your business that way. And actually, if you're doing this kind of stuff, you'll get to the point, I think, quite quickly that you can do without that franchise. Some franchises are very good at the business support, but some aren't. And just past my part 1 theory, working towards my part 2, hoping to start on my own, just wanted some tips. So generally people are just looking for tips. This is a webinar. This is not a one-off. We do lots of things in terms of Business Bootcamp. We've got a full day's training if people want to come to it, and we kind of go down and look at your business in more detail. We look at pricing, we look at marketing strategies, filling out a business plan. However, you can always call us. You can always have a chat with us on email. You can show us stuff that you're doing, and we'll give you some advice on that. Or you can share that with colleagues as well, and share your experiences, share your successes. We want to know what you've done that's brilliant that you could share with other ADIs to make their businesses boom a little bit better as well. Nobody is so fit that they're getting everything right all the time. There is no such thing as a super athlete in terms of business. Some things need to be done better, and I think sharing resources, sharing information will all help develop our businesses a little bit better.
Yeah, Paul's asked, are there any more business boot camps coming in the future? So yes, the next one is 29th of September, and that's in Portsmouth. And I know there's information on the website, and I'm going to put it up on the last slide in just a moment. So, and you can read the agenda, download the agenda of the day as well. So it'll be a much more in-depth version of what Carly's been talking about this evening.
And if you can't make that one, Paul, if you drop us a line and let us know where you are, we'll start maintaining a list of people who've inquired and look at those areas of the country frequently. And if we're up to enough numbers of people, we'll put one on there as well. We keep the groups quite small so you feel comfortable about talking about your business in front of it. A big room, it's a bit less comfortable. But yeah, certainly if Portsmouth's not near enough to you, drop us a line and we'll see what we can do about bringing it nearer.
Okay. Can you repeat the website for the ICO? So that's ico.org.uk. So if you just type in ICO into Google, it'll come straight up.
Yeah, so and they're the experts simple on that. So they got lots of resources on there to tell you how to keep compliant as well, and what are the risks and how to mitigate those as well. It's just, you don't have to do it. It's just we would if we were in that position, and we're registered with the ICO for that purpose as well.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, final questions. If there's anything further, then let us know. Okay, but otherwise, just keep an eye on our website and our Driving Instructor magazine for all of our upcoming courses and webinars at driving.org. As we said, our next Business Bootcamp course is the 29th of September in Portsmouth. So have a little look online, look at the agenda and see what's what. And you can always give us a call and ask us any questions about that. No problem.
And if there's any topics, we haven't covered at all, because we are, we're not on top of everything all of the time, and I don't think anybody is, and or we've missed, or we haven't done it in as much detail as you would like, then let us know, because then we can do another webinar on that specific area, or we'll have already done one and we can send you some resources and materials on that as well. As we say, we do want to hear from you guys about what we're not doing as much as what we're doing or you'd like more of, because over time it helps us build the resources for you, and we're being a bit more responsive to your needs in that manner as well.
Okay, that seems to be it with the questions for now, everyone. So you'll be able to watch this webinar back along with all the others we've done in the members area of our website, which is driving.org. Just go onto the website, click on the members area on the left-hand side, and then log in. If you've got any questions or queries or problems with logging in, just give us a call during our office hours, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. and we'll be able to get you sorted out and get you in there. There's lots of resources in there, lots of great materials and information that you can use.
If you wanted to email me directly, I think my email is just pretty much on the website somewhere, because I get all the queries. I get more queries than the help desk at the moment, so it's obviously somewhere prominent. But if you don't have it, it's Carly, Carly Brookfield, as it sounds. So it's Carly Brookfield, all one word, no dot separating it, at driving.org. If you forget that for any reason, drop the helpline a call or an email, and they'll give you my direct email. That is my direct email, and it's in my hand most of the time, so I'll try to respond to you in a timely manner. And if it's a conversation you want to have either with me or one of the team, we'll very happily call you back at a time that suits you to discuss your business development as well.
Yeah. Any training emails or anything along those lines, it's me. One of my emails is training@driving.org. That'd be the easiest one. If it's just generic stuff to the DIA, or you're not sure where it should go to, just email it to help@driving.org, and then it will find its place. So, yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Go and have a well-deserved cold drink. I hope it's still sunny where you are. I'm sure it's not where I come from in Lancashire, but it is down here in Croydon at the moment. And I wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you for listening and putting up with us.